students, to the next module of this chapter. In this module, we are going to learn a phenomenon called as menstruation and an informative topic, reproductive health and sexually transmitted diseases. So let's begin. In the last module, we saw when the male gamete fuses with the female gamete, it forms the zygote, and the zygote implants itself on the wall of the uterus. But what would happen when the egg is not fertilized? If the egg is not fertilized, it lives for about 1 day, one single day, say about 24 hours. Since the ovary releases an egg every month, the uterus also prepares itself every month to receive the fertilized egg so that it should be prepared to nourish the embryo. And how does it do that? It does that by the lining becoming thick and spongy. As you can see in the diagram adjacent to me, the lining of the uterus becomes thick, it becomes spongy because of rich supply of blood vessels. Now, however, this would be required for nourishing the embryo only if fertilization had taken place. But when the fertilization does not take place, the lining is no longer needed. We do not require this lining since there would be no zygote. There would be no embryo being formed. So now what? The lining slowly breaks and comes out through the vagina as blood and mucus. The lining sheds off and comes out through the vagina as blood and mucus. And this cycle takes place roughly every month. And because it takes place every month, it is called as menstruation. So how long will the menstrual flow last? Okay, it usually lasts for about 2 to 8 days. Moving further, let's move to the next concept of reproductive health. Students, since the sexual act is a very intimate connection of bodies, it is not surprising that many diseases can be sexually transmitted from one partner to another. Diseases which are spread by sexual contact with an infected person are called as sexually transmitted diseases. Abbreviation for it, they are also called as the STDs. Let's look at few examples. For example, gonorrhea, syphilis. These two are formed by bacteria. So these are bacterial sexually transmitted diseases. Whereas diseases like AIDS or warts, they are formed by viruses. So we call them viral sexually transmitted diseases. Now the question arises, is it possible to prevent the transmission of such diseases during the sexual act? The answer is yes. Yes, we can prevent them. How do we prevent them? Using a covering called as a condom for penis during sex helps to prevent transmission of many of these infections to some extent. Students, condoms are used by males during the sexual act or during the reproductive act. It acts as a covering and helps to prevent many of these infections. With this, we end this informative module.